Okay, so now we're looking at box 2, and it's asking us to shade the iPod to enhance the 3D look, and then line weight it and add a drop shadow. Okay, so there's 3 things there. So let's do the shading first, and you really need a sharp pencil to do this. I'm going to shade this side here first, and I'm going to try and kind of get like a faded effect. So it's going to start at the bottom there, coloured pencil. Hopefully you'll be given one in the exam. And the idea is to fade as you come up. You can see already there, just by adding a little bit of darkness there. Now, normally you could kind of leave it like that actually, but for this exam you want to sort of show off your skills. So I'm going to take this up to the top. I'm going to end it about here. Notice how I kind of like ended at the angle at which it's drawn as well. And I'm going to shade this in really, really gently, so you can hardly see it. And then I'm going to go back down the bottom and work on it a little bit more, just putting a little bit more pressure on the pencil and bringing it up, and then sort of loosening the pressure a little bit so it kind of fades out to about there. Maybe work down again, down to the bottom, beef it up a little bit. So you can see I'm kind of building it up so it's stronger, more dense, darker. The tonal value is darker at the bottom there, and it gives it a nice sort of fade up like that. Okay, let's do the top then. Now probably there'll be a lot more light on the top, so we're going to do that very, very light, very light. We're going to leave this corner here as a little highlight, which is really on a product like this where it's quite shiny gloss, it catches the light, so it reflects a lot of light there, so we can leave that white. It's kind of a little effect. There. Working towards this end here, we're going to do that same thing, darkening. You notice how I'm turning it round all over the place. It's because I'm right-handed, and it just suits me to change the angle of the paper all the time. Otherwise I find it quite difficult to sort of work it in there. So that's starting to look quite nice. Okay, so you've got like a fade coming this way and a fade going down that way. Now maybe we can do something to the screen. Maybe we can make the screen look a bit 3D. So I reckon there's going to be like a little reveal or a little rebate in there. So if we put a kind of a dark line there, just kind of makes it look like a little recess in there, and perhaps a little tiny little shadow here, like that. Okay, and then let's give that screen a kind of a reflective technique, or a sort of, I mean, it won't actually look like this in real life, but when you're drawing, you kind of do these little things which give the impression of. So you saw what I used there, the ruler as a hard edge, and it kind of gives it a nice little sort of effect, sort of suggests that it might be quite reflective. And then watch this, kind of come out over here and do the same sort of thing there. Sometimes it works quite well when you kind of do maybe just one dark line like that. Suggests that it's sort of, maybe that was a bit heavy, but never mind. Now I want to look at the front, and I'm just going to give the front a very, very light coating. Notice how I'm holding the pencil. It's sort of quite, you know, quite sort of fast sticking out from my hand, and I kind of have this technique going on. That's quite useful because you can get a very big sweep then. So very small movements of your hand produce quite a lot of movement by the time you get down to the tip of the pencil. So I'm just going to gently put a little bit of colour in this bottom right corner here and kind of fade it out completely by the time I get halfway up. See, when you're colouring things, you're sort of giving the suggestion of colour rather than saying the whole thing needs to be that colour. And just a little bit more, layer it in the bottom right hand corner there, so you can see that sort of fade. We could even I mean, I know this is flat, I used to have one of these, but actually I'm going to pretend that it kind of goes in a bit and then sticks out a bit, and just to sort of show you how you can take a flat surface and make it look like it's dipping in and sticking out just by a tiny bit of shading. So that kind of looks like it's sort of dipping in a bit there. And then if this was a button that was sticking out, it almost looks like a speaker or something. You can kind of just shade the bottom of that little thing and it sort of makes it look like it's... So you get this sort of effect of the thing not being flat. It's quite nice. Okay, so I think we've done enough on that. That's kind of giving it quite a subtle shading. Now let's have a look at a way of putting a drop shadow on that. Wait a minute, the second thing was actually line weighting. Okay, so line weighting just means how heavy is the line, how thick is the line. And it's often quite nice to go around the outside with a thicker line. So it's all very delicate and stuff, but then if you go around the outside with a thick line, you can use a ruler. And you can see how that suddenly beefs it up a little bit. And come around the corner here. And again, I'm turning my page around because I like drawing lines straight towards me or away from me. So I can turn it around, so it's just easy to do that. You can see the bold outline really makes it stand out. And that's all it is for, really. It's just to make it look a little bit more kind of punchy, a little bit more important. And just come around the top there, just remembering to make your corners nice and roundy. And then down, almost back to where we started. Now this is a nice little technique. You see where you've got this highlight here? If you just leave that space there and just do a little dot there, kind of makes it almost look like there's like a reflection or something going off the edge there. So it's quite I don't know why it just works that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to trace to do our, so that's the bold outline, the line weighting. Then we're going to do a little drop shadow. They want us to do a drop shadow. So we're going to repeat the shape of this kind of like this. Right. So it's more or less that footprint, but it's just kind of dropped down a bit and tucks in there and it tucks in there. And then we're going to, I've changed colour just because I think this kind of looks a bit more shadowy like. Actually, maybe it doesn't. Maybe what we'll do is use the original colour over the top of this just to make it look a little bit more shadow-like. So I'm running this brown or purple or whatever it is back over that blue one. It gives it a sort of a dull colouring. Yeah, I think that's okay. It's quite nice. So what it does, it just makes it look like it's just hovering slightly above the page. It makes it look more 3D. Okay, so that's box 2.